Maybe good morning. Oh, there I am. Ooh, now I'm super loud and echoey. How are you all this morning? Good. Happy summer Sunday morning. I've been away for a couple of weeks, so it is good to be back with you all. I had a lovely vacation on the lake shore, so I won't complain at all. But it is good to be back here with you. I have missed you. So if you are joining us online, maybe you're joining us from your own vacation spot. If so, kudos to you. I did not, okay? Let's just admit that. I did not. I sat on a hammock and watched the beach. It's fine. If you are joining us online, we're glad you are here with us as well. Couple of things that are coming up this week and in the weeks ahead that you need to know about. With summer and vacations and schedules, sometimes we can feel a little disconnected from each other, right? If we're not here every Sunday with regularity, it's easy to feel a little disconnected. So we have 2 opportunities in July to just sit and chat over a fire, and what could be better than s'mores? So the Hairbolts are hosting in their backyard fireside chats. The first of those is this Thursday at 7, is that right? 7 to 9-ish, or whenever you leave. Maybe not after that. They do need to go to bed at some point. But starting at 7 p.m., the address is in your Church Center app. If you don't have that app, let me know. I can connect you with that, or talk to Sarah, Jane, and Micah. That is a great opportunity to just get to know some people or connect with some people you haven't seen much in this summer. She's stealing my thunder, isn't she? Yeah, yep. Monroe, do you want to do announcements? You want to? Yeah, me too, honey, me too. She wants a snack. It's fair. And then coming up in a few weeks, we're going to have our second blood drive. We had one in the spring, and it was wildly successful, thanks to all of you. So we're going to have another one on August 5. Again, all of that is in your Church Center app. You can sign up there. Tell your friends, family. We'll do it from 2 to 6:30, so lots of time slots available to do that as well. Katie is going to come up and tell us about another opportunity that we have to connect with one another and with ourselves.
This would be a good opportunity, I was thinking this morning, for reorientation, as we've been talking about disorientation and reorientation. So LaVon and I are going to host a morning of contemplation on Saturday, July 25th at LaVon's house. And we'll just do like some spiritual practices and kind of reorient ourselves. So you're invited to come, and I believe that's in Church Center app as well. And I am also leading all of us in the call to worship this morning. As we enter into this space and time together, I invite you to take a deep breath in and out. Allow the whole of who you are to enter into this sacred space. Bring your hopes and your fears, your joys and your sorrows, your questions and your faith. Together, let us open our hearts and minds to be aware of the Spirit moving among us. Let's stand and sing together.
More than them before we hear what they
You can have a seat. Love is all around. If only we have eyes to see it. And sometimes it's hard to see it, because sometimes the absence of love is more visible than love itself, right? So we wanted to take just a quick moment this morning, not a quick moment, and a good solid grounding in naming the places where we see love, for some encouragement in the journey, for a way to move forward when the world is a lot, because the world is a lot. So our prayer practice this morning is simply this: where have you seen love? Where have you seen that in the weeks that have gone by, in your life or in the lives of others that you know? Where have you seen love? And I'm going to walk around with a microphone so those online can hear you as well.
I was at Kilwin's downtown on Tuesday, and I saw someone buy an ice cream for someone who couldn't afford it.
Oh, that's amazing. The perfect summer expression of love. I love it. Where else have you seen love?
I recently became aware of a group called Food Not Bombs, and they meet at least Friday and Saturday, if not more days, in the Veterans Park downtown, and they just offer a free meal to anybody that comes there. And it's been really cool to see that community and the people that are working every week to feed others.
That's awesome. With no strings attached, right? Yep. Yeah. Love that.
Levon has a new chair. It was delivered by a Guatemalan gentleman who, when he heard that I'd been in Peru 30 years ago, immediately promised to introduce me to his friend who drives a taxi in Lima.
Levon got a new chair with a really cool story behind it.
I'm going to pile on to that and
All
just
right,
say
good.
that it's super cool when we have people come to our house and Neil can speak to them in Spanish. Their eyes always light up. It's always just a really fun way to make them feel, I think, a little more welcome. And then I'm always sitting there going,
It's good to feel that sometimes, isn't it? But yeah, to just be able to speak another language, to show love to somebody in that way. Yeah, thank you. You can make me walk. I'm all right with that.
I have two. So watching Monroe run to give my parents a hug when they come and visit. And then watching my dad and CJ's dad try to, and successfully, install a new sink in my kitchen. But these two men have never worked together before. So just listening to their conversations the whole time was very amusing.
I love it. As they are doing something good for you and your house and your family, but doing it together. I love it. And yes, Monroe, we see love in you all the time, girly. We love it. We love it. Where else have you seen love? I see a hand. There's a little hand. I love it. Here you go, Anka. Do you want to talk on the microphone?
Did you forget?
Yeah.
It's all right. I forget sometimes too. If you remember, you can tell us later, okay, Anka? Anybody else? I see love expressed here every time we gather, in conversations that I get to be witness to, that I see people have together, in hugs, in tears shed together, in snacks that are brought and lovingly prepared in 1,000 different ways. We get to be love to one another and to remind each other each Sunday when we gather that love is present in the world. We get to do that together, and what a gift that is. So, as we offer thanks to God for the love that exists in our world, let's extend a little bit of love and go say hello to somebody. Go check in on somebody maybe you haven't seen in a while. Say, hey, how's your summer going? What's the best thing about summer? We're calling it greeting time, but it's also ways to show love to one another. If you're online, we'd love to hear from you as well. All right, go say hello. I'm going to invite you to find your seats once again. Deb just said this is the hard part, to get people to sit back down. It's my favorite part. Not that I have to interrupt conversations, but that there is energy and joy and connection happening. And that's a beautiful thing anytime, but especially in these summer months, right? Where people are here and there and everywhere. Speaking of, I said I've been gone the last 2 weeks. Well, now it's Chris's turn, so he's going to be gone for a couple of weeks. We'll come back together at some point in the summer. You'll get both of us one of these days, but he is taking advantage of a lovely vacation with his family in the next couple of Sundays. So he will be back, and he will have stories to share too, I'm sure. We also wanted to share something that is really beautiful that is happening in our building. We mentioned this some weeks ago, and then it has just started this week. The Refugee Education Center is hosting a summer camp in our building. So Monday through Friday, there are kids that were either born in other countries or their parents were born in other countries that have seen some stuff in life and get to come here and experience joy and love, and we get to be a safe landing space for them. It's just joy. It's loud chaos of joy when you walk in the building during the week. If you want a little taste of what that looks like, after worship this morning, head downstairs and just walk around in the classrooms. They have them decorated all sorts of different languages and flags and images on the walls. So take a little walk downstairs and take a look at what's happening there. We are so happy to be able to offer this space to them because we own this building and because we're in a decent financial shape, that we can offer this to them for basically nothing. They're paying for some extra cleaning, but we're able to support their ministry in that way. So thank you for being who you are and supporting the work in the life of the branch so that we can do these things. It's beautiful. We're hoping to have some pictures, and maybe one of their leaders can come tell us a story or two here in the coming weeks so you can hear more about what that program is too. I'm going to say one more cool thing that's happening this week. CCOM is an organization in our city that does a lot of things, but one of the things that they do is a mobile food pantry. So they go to different sites throughout the city on Tuesdays and Thursdays and just give away food. No strings attached, just give away food. And they are here on Tuesday. So from noon to 2 on Tuesday, if you or anyone you know needs food, come. There are no strings attached. They'll ask for your zip code, but that's just for their record keeping. Come and pick up some things. They have some frozen meat usually, and some canned goods, rice, pasta, lots of that stuff, and some fresh veggies and fruits sometimes too. So that is happening on Tuesday. Lots of good happening in this building and in all those spaces that you named as well. So now we're going to dig into Psalms of disorientation. So there's really no segue to that one, is there? That's not true. There absolutely is. We have been talking about the Psalms all summer, and for the first few weeks, we talked about these Psalms of orientation, these Psalms that say, this is what we believe the world should be like. If people act this way, then goodness happens, right? And this is who we believe God to be, and God should show up in these different ways. So we spent a few weeks talking about these Psalms of orientation, of what we really do believe that the world should be like and our lives should be like together. And then we pivoted to Psalms of disorientation, because we know that the world doesn't actually act like the way it should. Things happen. Horrible, horrible things happen. What do we do with that? When we have these things that we believe should be true and they're not true, what do we do with that? Well, the Psalms give us some really good language to express these things, to help us process maybe and to work through when we're in these seasons of disorientation. The first couple of disorienting psalms that we looked at were both lament psalms. One was a personal lament, and then there was a communal lament psalm. And at the end of each of those, there was this moment that pivots. There was some pretty harsh language in them, if you have been here those 2 weeks, of honest, raw emotion. And then at the end, it kind of pivots to, but I believe this is who God is, and I believe in goodness and hope and love. Then there's some psalms that, we're not going to talk about these today, but I do want to mention it. There's psalms that don't take that pivot, that just stay in the muck, that stay in the hard and the angry and the despair. And for a lot of my life, I didn't know what to do with those kind of psalms, because that is not how I was raised. You don't stay in the despair, right? But I think those are really good for us sometimes, because it's honest to say, I feel nothing good. I feel no hope. I feel stuck in this pit. And there are 2 psalms that do that. Psalm 88 and Psalm 109 do that. They stay in the pit. So if those are words that you need today or any day, they are there for you as well. Today we're going to look a little different side of the Psalms of disorientation. Today we're going to look at all of those lament psalms were from Israel's point of view, right? Directed at God. This week we're going to look at a psalm that is God directed at Israel and God's point of view in these disorienting times. So it is a different sort of look, I guess, on the disorientation psalms. We are walking through or using this resource by Walter Brueggemann, a psalms book that is quite old. It's from the 80s, like the 1980s, so it's a ways old. It's not as old as me, but that's okay. But it's been really helpful in organizing these psalms and giving us some framework to look at it. Brueggemann says, to understand this psalm that we're looking at today, we're looking at Psalm 81. Brueggemann says, we have to remember that in Israel, life is always understood covenantally. So it's a covenant between 2 parties, between Israel and between Yahweh. So for Israel, when disorientation happens, when the bad things happen, well, it must be one of 2 parties' faults. It must either be our fault or it is Yahweh's fault. And if we're doing the things that we think we're supposed to do, well, then it must be Yahweh's fault. And even if we aren't doing the things we're supposed to do, we believe that God is good and strong and powerful and should just fix it anyway. This is this deeply rooted belief that their God is strong and powerful and can do anything. And it is a good, deeply rooted belief that is present in our circles as well. It sometimes goes too far, though, doesn't it? To say, yeah, God should just fix all the things. There's no personal responsibility. There's no communal responsibility, that God is strong and all-powerful and should just fix the things. Well, today we're gonna look at God's view on that idea. Do you remember, how many of you grew up with Veggie Tales? Oh, yeah. I still sing the hairbrush song whenever I can't find my hairbrush. All the young people are like, what are you talking about? Oh, where is my hairbrush? Yep, see, you can sing it with me. There was another song that I sang to my kids with regularity at night when they were scared. Do you remember God is Bigger Than the Boogeyman? Yep, we're going way back here. It was this conversation of God is bigger than the boogeyman, bigger than Godzilla or the monsters on TV. God is bigger than the boogeyman and is watching out for you and me. Well, that's lovely, isn't it? There's some really beautiful truth to that, because God is watching out for you and me, and God is bigger than all the bad, and love and goodness are stronger and better. And if we're only saying God is bigger than the boogeyman, so we shouldn't be scared and we shouldn't feel all these things, well, then we're shoving all the hard feelings aside. And we're shoving away all of the thoughts of, but I am scared. So what do I do when I am scared? What do I do when I'm mad because things are not the way that they should be? Do I just say, God's got it figured out? It doesn't seem to work that way, does it? So why, oh why, doesn't this God is bigger than the boogeyman God just fix it? I think this psalm we're going to look at, and some others like it, give us a little bit of a perspective. It is somewhat of a lament from God's point of view, but it's also somewhat prophetic. So, and it invites us into some reflection time of not just saying, God, why aren't you fixing it? But saying, what have we done, personally or communally, that has caused this season of disorientation? Not for the sake of shame, but for the sake of moving forward, right? So let's take a look at Psalm 81. We're going to read a few verses, and then we'll stop and talk about it a little bit. And as we do so, can I just invite you, if there are things that you hear or things that you notice that you're like, I don't know about that, or I really love that language, please feel free to interject at any point. My notes get scribbled all over the place because every time I read it, there's something else that comes. So I want to invite you to do the same thing. So feel free to shout out something that you notice here. Psalm 81, verse 1 starts out, "Sing for joy to God our strength. Shout aloud to the God of Jacob. Begin the music, strike the timbrel, play the melodious harp and lyre. Sound the ram's horn at the new moon, and when the moon is full on the day of the festival, this is a decree for Israel, an ordinance of the God of Jacob. When God went out against Egypt, God established it as a statute for Joseph." This is celebration, right? This is a reminder of covenant and a reminder that God has liberated God's people. It is a reminder that Israel is a set-apart nation, a set-apart people from all the other peoples of the earth. Then it goes on to say this, "I heard an unknown voice say, I removed the burden from their shoulders. Their hands were set free from the basket. In your distress, you called, and I rescued you. I answered you out of a thundercloud. I tested you at the waters of Meribah." What does that sound like for some of you who have grown up knowing scriptures? In your distress, I called, I rescued, I answered you out of a thundercloud. I tested you at the waters of Meribah. Do you hear the wilderness language in there? The rescue from Egypt, the being led through the desert by a thundercloud. These are reminders of God's presence with God's people. And it goes on to say this, "Hear me, my people, and I will warn you. If you would only listen to me, Israel, you shall have no foreign god among you. You shall not worship any other god than me. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt. Open wide your mouth, and I will fill it." Remember, I brought you out of Egypt. Remember, I have always been with you. Verse 8, "Hear, my people, and I will warn you, if you will only listen to me, you shall have no foreign god among you." This is the summary of the Torah, the rules that Israel was supposed to live by. But why? Why the reminder of, listen to my voice, Israel? Clearly, Israel has been listening to other voices. And those other voices have been leading Israel down a path that leads to destruction and oppression. And they've been ignoring the voice of God that leads to wholeness and flourishing. It is a plea from the mouth of God to say, listen, remember who you are. Remember, you are people who are good. You are people of justice and wholeness. And what you are doing now does not lead that way for you or for the people around you. And then that last line, open wide your mouth and I will fill it. This is God saying to the people, it's still available. Just come back. Listen to my words. My offer of protection and goodness and loyalty still stands. Listen to my voice, not the voice that leads to destruction and harm. It goes on to say this, but my people would not listen to me. Israel would not submit to me. So I gave them over to their stubborn hearts to follow their own devices. Any of you who are parents, do you know this feeling? We've had this conversation over and over. We've talked about the ways that will bring you goodness and life, and the ways that won't bring goodness and life. And you're watching your kids make some choices. Do you feel the heartbreak? When I read this psalm the first time, I thought this is just angry God yelling at God's people. But then I looked at it as a parent, and I feel compassion coming through, and deep, deep love and desire for good things. Desire for wholeness and flourishing. But at some point, Israel got what they wanted, and that led to destruction and oppression. Verse 13. If my people would only listen, if Israel would follow my ways, how quickly I would subdue their enemies and turn my hand against their foes. Those who hate the Lord would cringe before him, and their punishment would last forever, and you would be fed with the finest of wheat. With honey from the rock I will satisfy you. God's invitation to Israel is still there. God says, listen, if you hear my voice, if you follow my ways, we can move through this. I'm still here, and I always will be. Israel can't go backwards, of course, but they can move forward, and they can say, this was not a choice that we should have made. This led to destruction, and we can turn and go the other way. God's promise of a new beginning is still there. If my people would only listen to me. It sounds like the anguished cry of someone who loves deeply, of a God who only wants the best for God's people and the world. This new beginning is offered that oppression will end when the community starts to practice justice again. It's this reminder. Remember when you practiced those things that I told you should practice? And a promise of abundance and goodness. This psalm moved from the reminder of liberation at the beginning, their orientation, through the disobedience that led to disorientation and oppression. For Israel, it was disobedience that led to their disorientation. For us, maybe it is also a behavior that leads to destructiveness. Maybe it is. But it could also be something else, like rushing through life without slowing down to notice good. Or striving for the things that aren't actually that important without paying attention to what is important. Or it might be ignoring what our bodies or emotions are trying to tell us, that gut feeling that tells us to do this one thing that we tend to ignore. Communally, it looks like grasping for power and control rather than wholeness and flourishing for all. Disorientation can teach us something if we let it. We can learn about ourselves and our communities and our systems. And if we really dig in and pay attention and do some reflection, as this psalm, I think, invites us to do, we can say, there are things that I need to own. There are things that I have done to contribute to this system. There are things that I have done that have led to destruction. The beauty of this psalm is that it doesn't stay in, you did bad things are going to happen to you. It doesn't say that. It says, you're doing this thing that is not good for you. Listen to the ways of God. Listen to my voice. We can move. We can move forward to reorientation and goodness and life-giving moments. I struggled with this psalm just a little bit because when we talked about those psalms of orientation, we talked about how it sounds kind of like, if I do good, good will happen to me, right? And if I do the right things, then all the things will line up and I will be blessed and blah, 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 blah. Really bad theology things, right? I don't think this is the opposite. I don't think this is God saying, if you do the right things, no bad will come to you. I think this is simply an invitation to say, what role have I played in this season of disorientation? Is there something I can do to fix it? Is there something I can do to maybe even just make it a little better? Maybe I'll still be stuck in disorientation, but maybe the pit won't be quite as deep. Or maybe I can help somebody else through this moment as well. I was thinking about how this can show up in my life in some pretty big ways, but also some really simple and small ways. I told you earlier I had the privilege of being on a lakeshore cabin. We're calling it a cabin, not a cottage, on the lakeshore for a couple of weeks. And it was sunsets and beach and fun and joy and beauty and kayaks and boat rides and hammock naps, might be my new favorite thing, and beauty and goodness. And I have just come off a season of busy and lots of emotion and lots of transition. All right, not off that season, it's still happening, but lots. And I really needed some reorientation time. So the water has always been that for me, so I really, really, really needed it. And I got it in a lot of forms for a couple of weeks. But there were also some moments and some days that were not good, just simply awful, because I travel with humans and we're not all perfect and we don't always respond in the way that is helpful for everybody. The house wasn't exactly what we hoped it would be. It wasn't as calming and relaxing. Family and friends came up to visit. My kids had friends that came up that we were really excited about, but it took away from family time and dynamics shifted, and we couldn't figure out how to get the air conditioning to go to the upstairs bedroom. Small things, right? But things that when you really are longing for calm and peace and rest, these things that can shift that really quickly, right? And on those days, emotions and high feelings got the better of me, and I responded in ways that I'm not super proud of. There were some doors that were slammed, and I got a little worried that I was going to take the cabin down with the slamming of doors. There were words that were said that I don't want to be that person. I want to be a patient, calming presence in my family. And that's not always true. So luckily, putting my toes in sand gives me instant reflection time, and listening to the waves calms me in a way that I can actually say, okay, I showed up in a way that I did not want to show up. That led to some reactions of other family members that they didn't want to show up that way either, right? So what can I do? What is mine to own in this moment that feels so very disorienting and I kind of just want to go home and sleep in my own bed? What can I do? How can I make a pivot? Can I make a pivot? Is there something that I can do, right? Start there. Some apologies were said. Some tears were probably shed. It's me after all. And some different ways could form. Did it fix everything? No, it didn't fix everything. But it helped me in that moment that felt so disorienting settle a little bit. Even if it wasn't the perfect thing that I needed it to be, it was still less of a pit, right? It wasn't such a deep pit of despair. I could climb out a little bit. That is a very small, minuscule example of what we're talking about here. Relatively inconsequential as these things go. But I think sometimes it's easier to just lament the garbage, and we need to, and that is very important. But I think it's harder for us to say, how have I contributed to the garbage? What is my role? What have I done to make it worse? So that we can also say, what can I do to make it better? How can I move forward? The promise of God of a new beginning is always there. This God of compassion laments when our lives are in a moment of destruction and oppression instead of goodness and life. So maybe when we find ourselves in a season of disorientation, this psalm invites us into reflection, into honesty. Not shame and not guilt, but simply honesty. Wondering if we could have done things differently and having the chance to make some change. It might not end the season of disorientation. It might not end the hard that you're going through, but it might make the pit feel less deep for you or others. Friends, here's the really good news. The invitation to move forward is always there, no matter what. No matter if you slammed a door, yelled, no matter what. The invitation to move forward is always there. God didn't withdraw that invitation from Israel. God never withdrew that invitation from Israel. And Israel did some stuff. God never withdrew the invitation for a new way forward. And God never will, for you or for me. A new beginning is always ours to be had if we are willing to open our ears and listen to the voice that brings goodness and love. We need reminders of goodness and love, don't we? I do. The waves in the sand give me those reminders and those moments to think about that. But we also, in the practice of community, give ourselves the reminder of goodness and love each week when we come around this table. It is, I think, in the 2 Sundays that I was without you, this practice may be the thing that I missed the most, because I get to see you all come together each and every Sunday and share these very simple gifts of bread and juice that came from the local market. There's something holy and beautiful about sharing this. It is the reminder of goodness and love so vast that Jesus gave his life to show us love and liberation and goodness. So we come around this table today again. This is an invitation. It is God's invitation to you. It is our invitation to you each and every week. It is not an expectation. So if you weren't expecting communion this morning, or if it just doesn't feel right for whatever reason, there is no pressure to partake of this meal together. You can stay in your seat where you are. You can go grab a cup of coffee, whatever you need to do. You can just be. Whatever that is for you is fine in this moment. But you are welcome at this table to experience goodness and love and community, no matter what your week has looked like, to experience a new beginning. So in order to do that, I'm going to need some helpers. We only have one station up here, so we're going to all come up front. There is also a gluten-free option up here as well, so if you need that, that will be up here. But we need a few people to serve communion, so if there are 3 people who would be willing to do that, just come on up. Thank you, Nolan. Way to be the first one. You get to do whatever you want. Nolan's got bread. We need juice and chips yet. Neil, wonderful. Thank you so much. You can do this. Stephanie's coming to do the gluten-free option. I love it. We come forward and take our elements and then bring them back to our seats. And once all are served, we will eat and drink them together. If you're at home, we invite you to grab your communion elements as well and join us in this meal. Come, the gifts of God for the people of God are ready. on the night that Jesus was betrayed, Jesus broke bread, gave thanks, and ate it. On the night that Jesus was betrayed, he chose to share a meal of goodness with his friends. That gift is for you too this morning as we take and eat this bread. And then Jesus poured the cup, this cup of blessing, and said, "This is my blood poured out for you. Drink this and remember me. Remember my goodness and my love." Friends, take and drink. These simple gifts are the reminder of great love. We're going to pass these baskets around, and you can place your cups in these baskets as Sarah comes up and leads us in one more song. You're going forward with the baskets today instead of backwards, so I think y'all can do it. I believe in you. And you are welcome to stand and sing with Sarah in this last song.
Will we ever rise above?
Love does break us sometimes, and love remakes us. We get to be people who live in the world and bring love, to remake, to renew, to transform. We get to be a part of that. But to do that, we have to listen to the voice of love, the voice of God telling us, you are good and you deserve wholeness and love and goodness. There is, on the table in the back out there, there's pieces of paper and some pens that we're going to use for a series later on this summer called I've Always Wondered. If there are cries of your heart and questions of your mind and wonderings and musings about faith or scripture and living in this world, we invite you to write those down. Chris and I are going to use those for the last few weeks in the summer and to have a conversation. I'm going to tell you right now, we don't have all the answers because there are not answers to some of these big questions. But we will have a conversation and we will be honest about things that we don't know and things that are not knowable, right? So we invite you to write down anything and everything from the most simple little question that you've always wondered about a word or to the big ideas that have bothered you your whole life long. You are welcome to write those and put those in the bag, and we'll get to those later this summer. For now, friends, as you go, be people who bring love to the world. Be people who experience love and see it all around you, and be people who transform the lives around you with simple acts of love, listening to the voice of the God of love. Amen. Thanks for being here. Have a great week, everybody.